Okay, love you. Bye. The London 19 certified innovators are graduating now. There's a live feed. That's what I'm in here watching. If anybody wants to join. The London 19 cohort of the innovators is graduating right now. Also, I'm ready whenever you are, Kenneth. I know we're supposed to get you bacon. Hey, that's good. I don't think I'm gonna eat any bacon. I don't think I'm gonna eat any food for a while.
Hi, everyone. We'll get started in just a few minutes.
Let me live my life free and easy. Put my toothbrush in my hand and let me be traveling man. Cause I'm a road runner, baby. I'm a road runner, baby. Can't stay in one place too long. I'm a road runner, baby. You might look for me and I'll be gone. You can love me if you wanna, but I do this when I get restless. I gotta move somewhere. I'm a road runner, baby. Anywhere's my home. Hey. And I love
Do
my
it.
life. And I'm gonna live the life I love. Road runner, baby. Don't want no woman to tie me down. Got to be free, baby, to roam around. All my life I've been like this. If you love me, it's your own risk. When the dust hit my shoe, I got the urge to move. Says I'm a road runner, baby. Got to keep on keeping on. Hey, and I live the life I love, and I'm gonna love the life I live. Says I'm a road runner, baby. heard about the new dance craze. Listen to us, I'm sure you'll be amazed. Big fun to be had by everyone. It's up to you, sure they can be done. Young and old are doing it, I'm told. Just one try, and you too will be sold. It's called a freak, they're doing it night and day. Allow us, we'll show you the way. Oh, freak out, you freak, says she. Freak out. Oh, freak out, you freak, says she. Freak out.
Hey, me! Hey, me!
On screen for every snack and all that. Tea time.
All that pressure got you down. Has your head spinning all around. Feel the rhythm, chant the rhyme. Come on along and have a real good time. Like the days of stomping as a boy. Now we're free. Oh, what a joy. Just come on down to the fifth floor. Find a spot out on the floor. Oh, freak out. The freak says she. Freak out. Oh, freak out. The freak says she. Freak out. Oh, freak out. The freak says she. Freak out. Oh, freak out. The freak says she. Freak out. Now freak. I said freak. Now freak. All that pressure got you down. Has your head spinning all around. Feel the rhythm, chant the rhyme. Come on along and have a real good time. Like the days of stomping as a boy. Now we're free. Oh, what a joy. Just come on down to the fifth floor. Find a spot out on the floor. Ah, freak out. street life, and there's 1,000 parts to play. Street life, until you play your life away. You let the people see just who you wanna be, and every night you shine just like a superstar. The time of life is played, a 10-cent masquerade. You dress, you walk, you talk, you're who you think you are. Street life, you can run away from time. Street life, for a nickel or a dime. Street life, but you better not get old. Street life, or you're gonna feel the cold. There's always love for sale, a grown-up fairy tale. Prince Charming always smiles behind a silver spoon. And if you keep it young, your song is always sung. Your love will pay your way beneath the silver moon. Street life, street life, street life, oh, street life. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ooh, I'm crazy street life, because there's no place I can go. Street life, it's the only life I know. Street life, and there's 1,000 parts to play. Street life, until you play your life away. Oh!
Good on the live stream as well? Amazing. All right. Hello. Do come and make yourselves comfortable if you're not already sat down. And we have some new people in the room. Hi, guests. Thank you so much for coming. So we've got a whole load of people. There's a few still to arrive. Don't worry if you're people that you've asked to come along aren't here just yet. Sky is still downstairs. We're gathering people as they arrive, and we'll bring another load up very shortly. Just a quick show of hands. Hands up if you are family of someone in the room. Amazing. Round of applause for the families that are here. Friends, family friends, other trainers. Any other trainers? I think we've got some partners in the room. Amazing. I actually think, Wendy will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the first time we've specifically invited family to a graduation, right? Yeah. So if you've not been here before, welcome to Google. This is one of 3 main offices we have in London. We have amazing views here. Not quite as good as the views that this lot saw last night in King's Cross, though, and they can tell you all about that when they speak to you. This is an office where all of our ads team sits. And this amazing room we're in is called Town Hall. If you want to grab yourself a drink or anything, there's tea and coffee over on the side there. Water just around here. Bathrooms are back out in the stairwell. So you can easily get back out into the stairwell. You'll see signs. But if you need any help with directions, just ask any of the team. So myself, Mark, who's at the back there, he'll point you in the right direction. Wendy, who's at the table here, and Andy. They're conveniently placed around the room, as you can see. I just wanted to quickly explain kind of what this program is about and what brought all of the lovely people that we have here into the program and what they've been working on for the last 3 days. And we're live streaming this right now as well. So hello to all the people that are online. I don't know what camera I'm on. I'm going to assume this one. There we go. Oh, there we are. There's Ingvi, Victoria, hi. Looks like we got Tom there. It looks 15. Khadija as well. Hi, everyone online. Okay. So at Google for Education, we give G Suite for Education to schools for free. It's a free set of productivity tools that we sell to businesses, but we give it to schools for free. They can create as many users as they want for people in their school. They get unlimited storage, and it's just something we do for education. And when teachers are using the tools, they can go through our certifications to kind of prove their proficiency and give themselves a badge of honor to say that they understand how to use our tools in the classroom. And so that starts with our level 1 and level 2 certifications. And after that, you could then decide to become a Google for Education certified trainer, which essentially says that you are proficient in training other teachers or people in education on our tools. And then if you want to, you don't have to do them in this order, you could then become what these guys are about to graduate from, which is the Google for Education Certified Innovator program. You're literally minutes away from graduating. How does that feel? Does it feel like the longest 3 days you've ever had? So I'm sure they'll tell you all about it if you're visiting. But last night we had a party over at a different office. That isn't all we've done, though. We've worked really hard. And everyone here is basically working to transform education. When they applied to come here, along with hundreds or thousands of people globally that apply to attend the program every year, we only ever select 36 people per academy. And there are 1,760 innovators worldwide. Now, to give you an idea, there are 500,000 teachers just in the UK. Right, so even if you were one of 1,760 in the UK, that would be amazing. But you're actually one of 1,760 in the world. Right, that's a pretty exclusive, cool club to be a part of. And you are transforming education. So they laid out a challenge that they wanted to solve, and we've taken them through the design sprint process that our product teams use when they create new products or come up with new ideas to come up with a solution. And you're going to hear about each of their solutions to challenges they've come up with when they come up and graduate shortly. So that's it from me. Please do come and say hello. My name's Dean, and I'm going to hand over now to Mark to kick off our graduation.
It's the final countdown.
Sweet. Thank you, Dean. And another round for Dean. He's been a fantastic host all week. And a good sport. I did a little bit of research, by the way, Dean. There's like almost 500,000 teachers here, about 5 million and change in the EU, another 3 million in the US, and the UN would love to see 68 million around the world. So I don't think we're there, but yes, 1760 out of that number is a very elite group. Also, from my perspective, I've been involved with this program for 13 years. And Dean and I were having a conversation last night. This program, the impact can't be measured in 3 days, never mind a business quarter or a year even when you launch your projects. But seeing the impact of this over 13 years and knowing what's ahead in the years for the 36 of you is awe-inspiring and humbling, and I'm grateful to be a part of it because we've seen people change not just their practice, but change their school and change their region or their state or their entire country to launch companies, launch nonprofits, launch apps, have babies together. So there's much ahead in the future for you. Some of the Innovator families might be watching right now. I did notice, by the way, some of you have families who are watching right now. So welcome to them too. We're going to dive in. Here's how it's going to work. When your team is called Innovators, you will line up on this side of the stage by the sound booth with your coach. You will then be called individually up to the stage. I'll say a few words about you and where you're from. And you'll pick up the mic off of the chair, and you'll give your 30-second Pixar story STEM pitch, right? You'll return the mic to the chair, and then come over here and visit Dean and Andrew, who will be conveniently placed by the photogenic sign, where you'll shake their hands. You'll receive your pin and your certificate, and it'll be a great photo op. We'll have somebody taking pictures of each of you. So, Innovators, when your team is called, you'll line up on the left side of the stage. When I call your name, you'll come up here, you'll give your pitch, you'll leave the mic, and then you'll go meet Dean and Andrew on the other side of the stage. Clear? Cool. All right. I believe that's all the housekeeping we need to do before diving in. So we will skip right ahead to Team Relevance. Come on up. Perfectly done, Kate. Look how they've modeled gathering on this side of the stage by the sound booth. Perfect. All right, everyone. She'll pass a polygraph test with flying colors. From Chicago, Renee Bogach.
So
I will be momentarily. If it's not, try again.
Okay. Oh, now
Hey!
it is. Okay. So once upon a time, there were two teachers named Janine and Aaron. And every day at work, they would struggle to find really good professional development to go to that was meaningful and relevant to their practice. One day, they lucked out and they found the website EduRate. At EduRate, they could search for professional development opportunities customized to what they wanted to learn. And those professional development events were also already reviewed by teachers. Then they found out they could submit their own reviews of the professional development they went to. Because of that, they attended all sorts of great professional development and they brought it back to their classrooms. And finally, they have the most engaging classrooms in their school.
All right. Our next innovator is an Olympic level indoor volleyball sweat mopper from Waterlooville, Martin Hoskin. You guys maybe didn't realize what you were filling out when you did the crazy things people don't know about me, right?
So once upon a time, there was a busy lecturer called Simon who really valued his opportunity to develop his teaching and learning skills. Every day he looked for resources that would give him a choice so that he could find resources and things that were customized and relevant to him. Until one day he came across CPDIY, which is primarily an opportunity to access user-approved content and also user-uploaded resources. Because of that, he's now able to access via desktop site or mobile app professional development, which gives him a choice. He now feels empowered and he is able to improve teaching and learning in everything he does. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. She'll never share her milk products from West Lafayette, Indiana, Tara Klein. Congratulations.
One day, there was a student that walked into my classroom that was in the LGBTQ community, and he struggled to be his authentic self for fear of rejection and judgment, until one day he received a copy of a book, Let's Grow Beyond the Status Quo. And upon receiving this copy of his book, he realized that there were stories of people in his community who had overcome this fear and rejection, and they were able to share their triumphs and their struggles. And one day, my hope is that this book eliminates the suicide rate for our LGBTQ community.
All right, our next innovator loves singing karaoke, maybe more than Dean Stokes. From Sevilla, España, Chelo Gutierrez. Oh, thank you.
Once upon a time, there was a teacher, Carmen, who was in a class, and she tried to do all the best all the time. But every day he came to the class, he was in front of the students, and she realized that the students were boring about her classes. So until one day she tried with you, a web in which he can find a lot of resources for real teachers, in which he can use Google tools in a way he can encourage and try to use technology in a way the students can practice and learn soft skills. The two primary features of with you were that there was a plenty of activities, and the second one was that she can find real feedbacks of another teachers. Because of that, Carmen realized that he can change her way of class, until he finally realized also that the encouragement of her students grow a lot because of this tool. Thanks.
His students impressed Ofsted inspectors on his very first day. From Watford, Hamid Sahota. Congratulations.
Once upon a time, there was a secondary school leader called Andy. He struggled to find suitable courses for disaffected students until one day, Curriculum-Wide was introduced. Curriculum-Wide is a website that gives you course information for every GCSE course that's available. Two primary features of Curriculum-Wide is that it provides performance points, guided learning hours, and also other schools that are running these courses. Because of this has helped school leaders like Andy find suitable courses for their disaffected learners in 2 clicks. This is supporting reducing the number of exclusions and the number of NEETs, which is students that are not in employment, education, or training. Thank you.
He plays euphonium in a brass band that tours around Europe. From Edinburgh, Scotland, Colin McCabe. Congratulations.
Once upon a time, there was a really busy teacher. We can relate. Every day, they would struggle to find time to fit in professional development. How could they put it into their busy lives? They attended courses, but didn't always get the best value from them. Until one day, a colleague passed them over their phone and shared with them EdFlow, a social sharing platform accessible anywhere, which delivered bite-sized forms of professional development for teachers. Because of this, because of EdFlow, using EdFlow, our teacher was able to access this content in all those little minutes of downtime. And because it was in such a micro format, the continuous flow developed a culture within that teacher where they began seeking more widely their own professional learning opportunities online and in short forms too. Thank you.
All right, if we've got volume on the laptop, we'll get the walk-up songs too. The team Children of Frizzle. Do you have audio from the laptop? Oh, okay, never mind. Never mind. All right. Well-gathered team Frizzle. Well, he loves tattoos, even more than Dean Stokes does. From Lincoln, UK, Richard Vickers. Yeah. Congratulations.
Okay, so once upon a time, there was a university student called Sarah, and every day Sarah worried about how she could get the best grade. And this impacted on her ability or her willingness to take risks. And because of that, her work lacked any kind of innovative features. Until one day, Sarah joined the Learning Journeys program. The primary features of the Learning Journeys program is that it encourages risk, it rewards failure, and it includes the student as a partner in the production of knowledge. And because of that, Sarah took more risk with her work, was much more experimentational and much more innovative, and she got better grades. Until finally, when she graduated, she got a job at Google. Thank you.
Oh, there we go. All right, our next innovator is a self-proclaimed epic Disney nerd from Edmonton, Alberta, Megan Alfano. Congratulations.
Okay, you guys. So once upon a time, there was this girl named Hannah, and Hannah loved to tinker. She loved to create, but she wasn't necessarily what you call the traditional student. But she really had the compassion for others, and she really wanted to change the world. Can you relate? Yeah. Okay. So she struggled with school, and she was like, what, these projects just aren't really connecting with what I want to do, until one day STEM in the Streets was born, a mobile interactive geocaching game that allowed her to suddenly look on her map, and there were all these pin locations. And if she clicked on one of these, a challenge popped up. And these challenges really related to what was important to her, things like environmental impact, homelessness, stuff like that. So Hannah joined a group of friends and started playing some of these activities and games. And then what was really cool was live events started to pop up, opportunities for her to connect with charities that were in her city, and she was able to use those tinkering skills to something that really mattered to her and gain some friendships along the way. Thanks.
All right. Our next innovator is an entrepreneur and wedding cake designer from Kingston, London, Rachel Dunn. Congratulations.
So once upon a time, there was a youthful girl called Tilly. And despite being quite bright, she hated maths. Every day, her mum said to her, "Oh, don't worry, I was never any good when I was at math. I was never any good at maths when I was at school either." Until one day, both Tilly and her mum attended a whole school all-day event called Maths Mindset Matters. One of the first features of this event was the opportunity for Tilly and her mum to work collaboratively together on open-ended maths problems. The second primary feature was for Tilly's mum to experience a Q&A with experts on growth mindset. And because of that, Tilly's mum learned about the way that her words were impacting Tilly's mindset, the way that she spoke about effort and praised her for her attainment rather than her effort. And because of that, Tilly, she saw that her mum was actually changing the way that she spoke to her about maths. And she noticed that her mum was taking more risks in the way that they were learning together. Until finally, Tilly realized that maths isn't about being perfect at everything. It's about making mistakes, using other people to help you learn, learning collaboratively. And so she ended up improving in maths, taking risks in her classroom, challenging herself in her learning, and really succeeding as a mathematician.
All right. He's the star of the Great Britain Teacher Rugby League from Wakefield, Ben Barnes.
how she worked with other staff and students, until finally she was confident enough to be part of the program and deliver training and support to other people around the world.
All right, she's been a competitive synchronized swimmer from Moriarty, New Mexico, Chris Armijo. What's it? Congratulations.
Obviously, that was many moons ago. All right. Once upon a time, there was a teacher, a really good teacher, who was challenged to rethink some of the ways that she was, some of her classroom practices in ways that would engage students to have more agency and choice over their learning. And every day she kind of struggled with, what does a student-centered classroom even look like? And what does my role in that look like? Am I even a teacher anymore if I give students the control? Until one day, her principal handed her a "let me see it, let me try it" card that had a little QR code on it. That QR code unlocked some resources for just one bite-sized strategy that she could try in her classroom. The primary features that were open for her were she was able to view a video where that strategy was being employed in a real classroom with real students. And she saw them making choices and leading their own learning, but she also saw that teacher still playing a vital role as a guide on their learning journey. The other thing that she found when she unlocked that code was resources. Resources including lesson plans and templates and any tools that she needed to support that practice to be implemented in her own classroom. So she gave it a try before the week was over, and the success of that led her to go back and ask if that principal had any more cards to try a new strategy. Ever since, little bit at a time, she's added new strategies to her classroom. Her students are leading their learning and growing in powerful ways. The end.
International correspondent for Sky Sports UK from Bakersfield, California, Devin Rossiter. Congratulations.
I think that was for like a week 10 years ago. I'm not affiliated with Sky Sports. Guys, once upon a time, there was an ambitious history teacher named Chris who was passionate about designing rich, creative, ambitious, valuable lessons for his students every day. And every day, he would try to enlighten the lives of his students, but was hampered with covered windows in his classroom, dim lamps, and burned out projector bulbs that impacted his ability to effectively instruct. Until one day, he obtained an outsider box, an all-terrain teaching solution designed to extend the classroom beyond the door. And it was portable, which meant he was able to take his display anywhere on campus and utilize so much more of the space that was available to him. It was also media-friendly, which allowed him to project and share any kind of media from any kind of device that he or his students had access to. And because of that, the opportunities of his students were extended beyond the limitations of those four walls. And ever since then, he's been able to notice that he's created more outdoor learning activities and opportunities for his students. He's been able to observe healthier sleeping habits, and he's been able to expose his students to more natural light. Thank you.
All right, we'll see if we get our walk-up song. Oh, here it comes. There we go.
I get no
All right, our first innovator is a culinary aficionado who loves to cook from Blackburn, Zaytun Bukhari. Congratulations.
Okay, so once upon a time, there was a teacher called Malini. And she wanted to, we go to lots of training, and she wanted to use that training in a classroom, but she didn't want to waste time developing that training. So until one day, she came across an app called Reflection, And it was an app which allowed her to have a look at the videos or little trailer of the training that was provided on the day, and was able to see which one was the best rated. And from that, she was able to see which one would best suit her classroom. That allowed her to not waste any time with developing resources that wouldn't work, until finally she was able to engage her learners with really good learning in an innovative way using this app. Thank you.
Purveyor of high quality canoes from Larkhall, Scotland, Ian Vosser. Sorry. Congratulations.
Thanks very much. Hello to Shona Media, who I know are watching on the live stream at home. So hello. Oh, yeah. Once upon a time, there was a school that had introduced technology into every classroom, and they were shouting really loud about having digitally transformed, until one day Culture Show came and showed them that they needed to build the bridge between digital transformation and a true change and shift in culture. So one of the features was, of course, celebrating the success that they'd already achieved, but also looking at how they can further embed and empower their leaders of learning to be able to do more. And this finally allowed them to go, as a community, we've grown and we've changed, and we're going to continue to do that because technology and the learning that's happening in classrooms should continue to change too. Thank you.
All right, he can count the queen among his students. From Maidenhead, Daniel Hubbard. Congratulations.
Good afternoon. Once upon a time, there was an A-level student called Greg. He studied physics, and one day his physics teacher asked him to read around the subject of antimatter for a project he was doing. Now, Greg loved his physics, but he didn't really know what to do after receiving this instruction, so he stuck antimatter into Google, and he just found masses and masses of information, a lot of which he couldn't really understand. It was pretty complicated. So he was a bit confused until he came across an incredible website called 2Pi Reading. This enabled him to search for information on antimatter that had been suggested by students and teachers so that he could fully understand it. Not only that, but it was placed on a timeline so Greg could actually understand the development of our understanding of antimatter over time. Greg found this utterly fascinating, and he read and read and read and became massively passionate about this idea of antimatter, much to the surprise of his physics teacher. Greg is now preparing to study physics at university, and I am sure that he will go on to make massive change in this area of his passion, that is antimatter. Thank you.
With any luck, he'll invent the warp drive. So a live concert addict, she's been to more than 200 from Colorado Springs, Mary Mulligan. Congratulations.
It's only 100. I'm a bad typer. I might be an innovator. Okay. Okay. Once upon a time, there was a student who was really scared about graduating high school and becoming an adult. Until, or every day, they wish that they would have practiced these skills of adulting before they entered the real world and had to prove these skills. Until one day they came across Adulting the Game. The two primary features of Adulting the Game is a risk-free environment that is tailor-made to the students' dream life, what they hope for their future. Because of that, students were able to practice these skills risk-free without any repercussions. And so they were able to succeed in life, making good financial decisions and decisions that help their well-being. Thanks.
Our next innovator might have gone native on an Alaskan glacier if it weren't for this very event. From London, Chris Turple. Congratulations.
All right, I did indeed come back from Alaska for this, and it was fantastic news to come off the glacier for. So Anna is a very busy UK teacher who really wants to encourage creativity and collaboration and risk-taking in her classroom, but also is tasked with the challenge of preparing students for GCSE and A-level standardized exams. So she's quite fearful to take any big risks until she connected with another teacher in a very similar context to her own and was able to see that it could be done. And so she watched a short 1-minute impact video from this teacher, and through that saw they had a connection and were fighting the same fight, and was able to reach out and get resources and advice and brainstorm together. Because of that, this teacher felt they could take that risk they always wanted to in the classroom. And finally, through a series of mini impact stories, we were able to create a movement to change the way we teach in the UK.
And the mascot for the Durham Cricket Club from Newcastle upon Tyne, Steve Bunce. Congratulations.
So once upon a time, there's a girl called Verity, and she was 14, and she was always tired in her lessons. Have you ever had somebody fall asleep in your lessons? Anyone? 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 So one day, she suddenly found that a series of lessons a teacher was telling her about helped her learn more about sleep. And this program called Sleep Ed had a series of lessons. It was linked to the curriculum. It was also linked to the latest research, and it helped her understand practical advice of how she could take control of her sleep. Now, because of that, it meant that she could be less tired in lessons. She could concentrate for longer. And the teachers, they were kept up to date too, because they had a regular podcast which told them about other interesting things around sleep, about other people and their sleep patterns, and also like bite-sized bits of latest research into sleep. And that helped the teachers stay up to date too. So not only is all this there, it linked to the National Schools Healthy Awards, and therefore the school felt good about it too. So now Verity is much more in control of her sleep, and she's doing better and enjoying her school better. Thank you.
Am I alone in thinking that maybe the innovators need his sleep curriculum? All right, our next team is Team Wellbeings. Come on up. All right, our first innovator has pi memorized to the 29th digit. From London for a few more days, Emma Pass. Congratulations.
So once upon a time, there was a first grade teacher named Miss Chitters, and she was responsible for the safety and well-being of 25 lovely and enthusiastic 6-year-olds. Many days while she was teaching, while her students were working or playing, she would feel the call of nature, or she would long for a moment to just step out for a moment of peace and quiet and have a cup of coffee. But because she was the only adult in the room, she couldn't even take that time to go to the bathroom or the teacher's lounge. That is until one day she downloaded with her school, Gimme 5, a web and mobile-based app that allows teachers to request, accept, and offer 5-minute breaks to each other throughout the day. One of the features of the app is suggestions for how to spend that 5 minutes beyond using the toilet, such as short mindfulness exercises or stretches or little bits of relaxing music. Another feature is a reward system so that anytime Ms. Chitters used the app, whether she was giving a break or asking for a break, she was rewarded. Because the ethos of Give Me 5 is to celebrate self-care. Because when teachers better take care of themselves, they can better take care of their students. The end of my speech was that she and her bladder lived happily ever after. Thank you.
Her criminal record might include grand theft auto of her own car. From London, Wendy Pesquet. Congratulations.
Oh, true story that. Okay, so in a college not too far away from here, I know a bunch of amazing teachers, but for quite some time now, they felt quite undervalued and a bit downtrodden, if the truth be told. Until one day, they received this notification, and it came from somewhere called Thanks Teach. And this notification was sent to the teachers via their email. And when they opened it, they noticed it was a student saying thank you for a wonderful lesson they delivered. And another teacher in the same building, they found a printed card on their desk. They had a good look at it. There were some lovely heartfelt messages, and this teacher pinned it to their wall like most good teachers do when they receive a nice thanks from a student. And they were intrigued. Where did it come from? And there was a little note on the bottom, and it said, go to this website and see what else is being said about you and your colleagues. And on this website, they could see all the messages being sent from students to different teachers around the building. And gradually, over a little bit of time, the culture shifted at the college. And instead of people feeling downtrodden, they started to feel a little bit more valued. They started to realize that people were recognizing what they were doing. And then one day, one of these teachers that received this message, they also got a notice from one of the senior leadership team calling them in to say they'd won an award based on the messages from their students, saying, we've noticed how well your students are writing about you, and we now want to recognize the work you're doing. So until finally, really what happened is that shift meant that the students started not only to be right at the end, sorry. And then right at the end, the teachers, we know they're always changing students' lives, but now the students can help to change the teachers' lives too. That was
Our next innovator is a chronic sweeper. No, really, she has a sweeping problem. She sweeps every day. From Athens, Georgia, Carrie Sigmund. Congratulations.
I forgot that I wrote about my sweeping problem. So once upon a time, there was a 4th grade teacher named Keith. And every day, Keith worked so terribly hard to make the most engaging lessons he could. He ran around, he went to every meeting, he met with every collaborative team, but he was just frazzled and worn out at the end of every day. But so were all of his teammates. They were all running in this circle and not feeling like they were getting anywhere. Until one day, Keith came across a product called Storyboard TDU. And Storyboard TDU is a curriculum that encourages teachers to come together and plan interdisciplinary lessons. So Keith thought this was really cool, but what he really liked about it was that it starts with a book. Raise your hand if you've ever connected with a book before. Raise your hand if you think students connect with books. So Keith said, I'm going to take this idea to my team. So he took the book to the team. He took this framework for how they could actually collaborate together and not everyone do something different, but actually work together. He took that to his team, and you know what they did? They built the most amazing interdisciplinary unit that their students had never experienced before. There was connection, there was understanding, there was meaning, and their team worked together. So after that, other teams saw how amazing this was, and across the school, other teams started adopting the Storyboard TDU framework, and ever since then, it has been happily ever after.
All right, she plays almost all traditional band instruments. From Arlington, Virginia, Teresa Ducasu. Congratulations.
Once upon a time, there was a music teacher who worked hard to provide enriching musical experiences for her students. One thing she was not good at was taking time for herself and looking after her own well-being. Until one day, she discovered Music Teacher Tacit, an online community dedicated to self-care and reducing music teacher burnout. The online community helped diminish the feelings of isolation that so many music teachers feel being the only ones in their building. It also provides resources and tools to help these teachers feel more balanced and focused in their classrooms. Because of that, the teachers found the support and the encouragement they needed to take care of themselves, to look out for themselves, and live long, happy music teaching careers.
I may take some artistic license with these taglines, but they're all conversation starters, especially this one. But he has synesthesia and sees numbers and letters as colors. From London, Luke Craig. Congratulations.
So once upon a time, there was an 8-year-old girl called Shania, and every day, unlike some of her peers, she would go to bed without a bedtime story. And as a result, she hadn't yet discovered her love of reading. Until one day, she met her wrinkly, who was a person called Wendy, who was a retired teacher who volunteered some of her time to come into school twice a week to work with Shania one-to-one for 30 minutes. And they would read and discuss the stories, and it would all be led by Shania and what she chose, and Wendy would ask questions, and they'd kind of set what they would read outside of school as well and come back and discuss it. And another feature was that the school loaned Wendy a Chromebook, and Shania would help her with her new G Suite account, and sometimes Shania would share her schoolwork with Wendy so that they could so she could comment on her work and they could discuss that. And because of that, Shania now, when she gets home, she rushes upstairs and her mum can never get her out of her book. The end.
Speaking of mild artistic license, Born in a Barrel, moments before going over Niagara Falls. Now in Vancouver, British Columbia, Matthew Ma. Congratulations.
I just realized that's one of my Google security questions. John is 9 years old. He likes hanging out with his friends. His friends like hanging out with him. They do a lot of things together as a group, like deciding on what's cool, what's popular, what kind of stuff to watch on YouTube, who to follow, what kind of comments to write, what kind of stuff to share online. Until one day, their class played a game called Data Mine, the board game. And this game allows players to steal each other's private information on the internet. They're info nuggets. Whoever gets the most info nuggets wins the game. John realized that sometimes he didn't agree with his group on what to share online and how much to share online. The game suddenly made it possible for him to speak up his mind and say, hey guys, this is like data mine. We shouldn't be doing this. I don't want to share that. And it became okay to go against the hive mind. Until finally, at the end, no kid ever did just what their friend decided was cool and decided to follow their own path. Thank you.
All right, hat pegs, make your way down.
You can't leave your head on.
Fantastic. He's a mixed martial arts champion from London. Abid Patel. Congratulations, sir. Oh, there, your mic. Oh.
Shout out to my beautiful daughters and my wonderful wife. Everyone loved your brownies. Appreciate it. Yeah, that's it. So once upon a time, there was a head teacher called Shazia. Every day she had loads of issues with IT because she didn't have an IT strategy in place and she didn't have the expertise, and the financial pain that she suffers in school was what was blocking that. Until one day she came to the awesome It Just Works event where she met me. Yeah? And it was at that event that we were able to drill down into her issues, her personal issues that she had in school. We were able to drill down in the issues of other people who came to that event. And then what happened was we were able to put together a personalized plan of what we could do to ensure that IT was much better for her school, so that the students could effectively use the IT, the staff could be empowered and invigorated with using the IT, and then she would be able to do that without all of the financial pain, and she would become a beacon of society, and that other schools would be able to look up to them. And then until finally, we were able to put in a strategic plan of action where they got continual support, and that never went by the wayside. And then the great work continued to ensure that all of the pupils have the best possible IT for a successful future. Thank you.
Our next innovator is a former pirate ship captain from Leicester, Paul Farrell.
And an administrator like him. And it also tells him what's the impact by changing that setting on other settings inside the admin panel. And it also takes him to the support help files if he needs them to make that setting happen. Because of that, Adam can now make changes confident that the changes will have an impact on the learning in the classroom. And now all the classrooms have got an ICT infrastructure that enables all the learning to happen the way that it should happen. Thank you.
She chose her education career over a future owning a high-end sandwich shop. From Warwick, Ellen Burgess. Oh, congratulations.
So in a primary school not very far from here, there's a teacher, me, who loves using technology all of the time. And he's that excitable child that's like, look at what the kids have done, look at what they've done now, and running around school to try and show people the work. But Ofsted didn't care, and SLT weren't interested because they couldn't track progress, they couldn't get to it, they couldn't see it properly. And so until one day there was this new way of doing it, we just needed to share it. And share it allowed us to gather together all of the information and put it in one place that anyone could access. And so really easily, anyone like Ofsted or SLT could see this work and see the children's journey and become proud of each other, and the parents could see the children's learning too. And so finally, everyone wanted their work to be online because these portfolios were demonstrating the children's journey and their story, and they were begging to use technology more.
All right, he's hiked over 300 miles in the European Alps from Bakersfield, California, Hans Tolman. Congratulations.
Let me tell you guys a story. So once upon a time, there was a new teacher named Heidi,
and she decided to take a risk and engage her students with online learning. However, every day she struggled with students being safe online and accessing online tools. Until one day, she was invited to IT Matters, an experience for teachers and IT teams to solve problems. The two features are a conversation that she gets to have with her IT team and other educators, talking about student access and safety. The other feature is an observation from her IT team to come into her classroom to figure out what are the barriers that are blocking her and her students from accessing. Because of that, she's able to work with her team to solve problems until finally she can innovate in her classroom and her students are engaged with online learning. Thanks.
Our next innovator really loves ketchup or tomato sauce, but from San Bernardino, California, Sanal Patel. Congratulations.
Hi. Once upon a time, there was an educational technology coach that really believed in making computer science accessible to all. So every day she would bump into educators that really struggled with teaching computer science. And for a second, she thought, that's okay, I can coach you. But she realized she really struggled herself with coaching in the area of computer science because she had very limited knowledge and she needed to do something that was quick and motivating. So she discovered the CS Call experience, which is an online digital learning experience that's gamified that allows for her to earn digital badges through accessing content that was accessible to her. And it doesn't just come with that online platform, it comes with an exciting CS Call box that includes activity cards that connect to standards in computer science that allow for QR codes to show her how that lesson would be modeled in her classroom. So she's able to go to these classrooms to be able to model these lessons. So because of that, she not only increased her own confidence in teaching computer science, but she made an impact on all these elementary school educators. I forgot to mention that there were elementary teachers. And finally, these teachers were inspired to teach computer science, and we were creating the future of tomorrow.
Awesome. He's a professional studio musician and producer from York, Tristan Kirkpatrick.
So once upon a time, there was a teacher called Nick. Nick's a good teacher. He's just not used to using technology very often in the classroom. He uses it, but sometimes he kind of fumbles his tabs on Chrome and that sort of thing. So until one day, a Google Chrome extension called Lesson Stacks came along. That enabled him to stack up his resources for his lesson, so he didn't have to post it out to Classroom. He could just have it there in his browser for him to use. He also liked using like timers and stopwatches and random student generators in his Google Classroom too. So that was going to be included there as well. Because of that, Nick didn't waste any time anymore. He didn't waste time in his lessons where he maybe got the wrong tab, went onto the wrong thing, and all his learners did really, really well. Thank you.
All right. Team Rage Against the Ducks, come on down.
Those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. Some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. Some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. Some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses.
All right, our first innovator on the team is a keen cricketer and guitar player from London, David Draper. Congratulations. Oh, there we are, David Draper. Sorry, Andrew.
once upon a time, there was a teacher, Paul, who's been teaching a very long time. Every day, he has to access data and finds it really difficult. He's not very good with technology. Until one day, his school installs pop-up chat AI. Just a little chatbot that you can ask questions, and he just pops up saying, how are you doing today? What do you want to ask me? The first feature, the teacher, Paul, asked a very simple question, how's my class performing? And what the chatbot did was just send him a little report, popped up the report, and showed him how well his class is doing. The second feature, there was a student who kept misbehaving in his lessons, and he wasn't sure what was going on. So he asked the chatbot, what's the student doing? I don't know what's going on. And what came up was a report of all the behaviours, all the comments, and it analysed the comments for him. And a very clear analysis showed that he didn't enjoy his lessons. Because of that, teacher Paul was able to support all the students in his class, identify students that weren't able to access the curriculum, and also was able to support that student who was misbehaving and help them achieve their goals. Until finally, one day, the little chat pop-up came up and showed him that a student, Ollie, kept missing school on the days that there was new PlayStation games. Thank you.
All right, he's a radio personality and dance commentator from Ipswich, Darren Simons. Congratulations.
Okay, so once upon a time, there was a progress tutor called Simon. And every day, he has one-to-one tutorials with his students. But the main problem is that to actually find the information about his students, he has to access loads of different data sources to try and find out what's going on with them and how he can support them. Until one day, he's introduced to Analyzed Chat, which is a system that allows you just to have a conversation about student progress. The two primary features of this is that it actually accesses all of those data sources in one place. And you can just ask it a question. So you can say, how's this student going on? Or you can ask about the whole cohort, compare their information against the rest of the cohort, or even the whole college. Because of that, he's got a lot more time now to actually have those conversations, those productive conversations with his students. And until finally, he can actually support those students to be successful in education.
Our next innovator once completed the London Marathon. From Rochdale, Dave Leonard. Congratulations, Dave.
Nearly there. So, I want to tell you a story about Henry. Henry is a young learner who every term is asked to fill in a feedback form so that his teachers and his teachers' managers know how good a job they're doing. Okay. Henry, however, finds that really, really boring. It's laborious, and he never gets any feedback as to what his ideas have been. Until one day, we introduced him to, I've forgotten the name of my product. It's called Lesson Rater, which is an amazing product. Let me tell you about it now. Okay. Thank you. So Lesson Rater, look how good it is. Everybody's applauding it already. So Lesson Rater allowed Henry to give quick, easy feedback, and it allowed the leaders of the school immediate access to that data. The other thing it did, it pitched Henry against his colleagues in providing that feedback because it created a leaderboard of the best value comments. Because of that, Henry now competes and looks forward to providing the feedback so that he can be higher up the leaderboard than his friends. So Lesson Rater, now I know what it's called, makes feedback matter.
This is unique among the cohort and maybe all 1,700 Google certified innovators. He's a professional ostrich rancher from Brooklyn, New York, Clay Smith. Congratulations.
Deb's a teacher. She walks in every day and happens to have forgotten to assign that lesson for the day As her students meander into the classroom, she realizes, oh my gosh, I have to get this out there. Until one day she installed Classroom Assistant. She was able to talk to her classroom and ask Google to go ahead and assign that lesson, to create that document, to share it with her class. On top of that, her students were also able to access it and speak to their classmates and their work to get things done more efficiently, more effectively, and more organized for all of them. Because of that, her classroom ran much more efficiently, and she was able to spend far more time with her students. Thank you.
All right, the inspiration for their team name. She rescues orphan ducklings from East Bergholt, Drew Watts. Congratulations.
Hi. Okay, so once upon a time, there was a computer science teacher called Kay, and she tried super hard to get her students to choose to take GCSE computer science, her girls, but her uptake was still super low for girls. She couldn't get many to choose it, which is a problem lots of people have. Until one day, she got interactive computer science workbooks for her students. They are printed workbooks. Two features of it. One of them is that they have QR codes with all the different computer science topics in them that go to videos. A lot of them will be, well, are of women who work in lots of different industries, things like medicine, not always traditionally linked to computer science, but they'll explain why they may have studied it in school, the GCSE or A-level or further, and how that actually does link to their job, because lots of girls think that that won't be relevant in my career. It also has things like you could scan the page and it will go straight to Google Drive so that teachers can then get it put into Google Classroom. Because of that, her students really enjoyed their lessons and they could then see the relevance to their career choices. So finally, her uptake increased and more girls then chose to study computer science. Thanks.
All right, last but not least, she had a Javanese Siraman ritual performed on her during her pregnancy while living in Jakarta. From Wheeling, Illinois, Alicia Duell. Congratulations.
Christy is a very busy principal who doesn't really understand the power of technology integration to solve challenges or to amplify learning. She is really busy all day solving mostly operational challenges and working with her team on her school's SIP, or School Improvement Plan. Until one day, Christy attended Amplify Your SIP, a regional event being held nearby. At Amplify Your SIP, Christy shared her team's and her building's school improvement plan goals and also their opportunities for growth in her school. Also at Amplify Your SIP, Christy was introduced to tools and resources that could directly help her address her specific school's SIP goals and opportunities for growth. Also at Amplify Your SIP, Christy had time to play in the sandbox where she could actually get her hands on some of these tools and resources so that she could kind of get an understanding for how they worked. Because of her attendance that day at Amplify Your SIP, Christy was able to go back to her school with a toolbox full of tools and resources that allowed her and her team to effectively address their SIP plans and their SIP goals. And then finally, Christy now has a felt understanding of the power of effective technology integration to address goals and to address problems, solve challenges, and amplify learning, and has become a true vocal champion for effective technology integration for all of her teachers.
All right, everybody, yourselves, your visitors, and everybody online, let's have another round of applause for the LON19 Google Certified Innovator. . I believe we're going to bring Les Macbeth from Future Design School up for a few minutes, and then Dean's got some final words.
All right.
I'll take this.
Congratulations, everyone. Those were so impressive. It was so impressive to see how you've gone from all of the mess. There was literally a mess in here for the visitors before you got here, but also the messiness of your thinking and your taking your ideas and expanding on them and tearing them apart and ringing that fail bell. And now you've got a plan that you really simply explained, right? It looks like this, and it's all very clear. You're like, I'm starting here and I'm going to end there, and it's all going to be beautiful. But we all know what's going to happen, right? It's going to be the same thing that happened when you came here on Wednesday. It's going to look more like this. So as you go out there, just remember to embrace that messiness, to embrace all of those challenges as opportunities. And whether you end up here a year from now celebrating your 1-year anniversary of your Innovator Academy, like the group from LAX just did, or whether you end up feeling here like you're underwater, remember that you can reach out to each other and that being underwater is part of that process, just like Laura pointed out with the lotus blossom the other day, right? Being there is part of that process. And so embrace that and reach out to each other for support. Your Google Chat is going to keep going forever and ever. It's never going to stop. So, so don't be afraid to embrace all of those challenges as they come. Because at the end of the day, innovation requires optimism, and it requires you to be fearless in the face of failure. And one thing that this made me think of in terms of being fearless in the face of failure was last night when we were all having our celebration and people were willing to take that microphone and sing, and even today when you're willing to get up here and stand in front of your group of peers and pitch your ideas. And that is something that I refer to as the karaoke mindset. So it's this idea that when you sing karaoke, you're not afraid to get up there and put yourself out there in front of people and make a bit of a fool of yourself, perhaps. Not that Dean did. Dean was an excellent singer last night. But I'm willing to bet that if I asked Dean if he would get up on stage in front of thousands of people and sing Hey Jude, would you do that? He probably would. He was a drama person, I forgot. But this idea of embracing that mindset of not being afraid to put yourself out there, to put your ideas out there, to share the great things that you have to share with the rest of the world. Now, the problem that we have, of course, is this, right? We're all busy people. We all signed up to come to these things because we're the kind of people that sign up to come to these things. So we're all super busy. And you've got some ideas that someday are going to become a reality, but the big challenge is that someday isn't one of the days of the week. So my last challenge for you before you leave, this is the last time I'm going to make you reflect, I promise. On your tables, and actually coaches, on one of the chairs back there, there's another set of postcards. If each coach could just grab them. We've given you a little set of postcards that have some sort of inspiring phrases on them. If one of the coaches, they were on a chair, but I don't know where the chair went. There. If someone could just pass those out. So on that postcard, I'm going to get you to write a list, a to-do list that's going to help you turn your someday idea into a Monday idea. And so my challenge for you is on the back of this postcard, I'd like you to write your name and address. I'm going to mail these out to you. And then I'd like you to write down a list of your someday ideas. So striving for the big, the ideal, imagining what could be possible, your big dreams and ideas. And on the other side of the list, I'd like you to write down what's one thing that you're going to commit to try on Monday. So it's Friday right now, you've got the weekend to relax, but then on Monday, what's the first step that you're going to take towards making your project a reality? So you're going to write it on the back of the postcard like this, and then I'm going to mail these back to you so you get them in like a week. I don't know how fast the British Post is. Maybe it'll be more than a week. But you're going to get these back. And as a reminder for that one thing, because if you don't start small, you're never going to get to your big ideas. If you haven't heard this enough from me already, I'm going to strongly suggest that your first thing that you try involves talking to your users, involves taking your prototype, showing it to your users and saying, hey, what do you think of my idea? That's my suggestion for what your one thing could be. But take a minute and fill those out as we are just wrapping up with our final words. And at the end of the day, think big, start small, and keep the end goal and your students in mind. And thank you so much for all of your hard work and all of the amazing things that you've done and all of the amazing things you're going to do. So that'll turn it back over to Dean.
All right, thanks, Les. Okay, this is it now. This is apparently the British goodbye. I think the only British thing about it is me. I don't think there's anything much different to it. So I've just got a few things to wrap up. Some Prosecco has been passed around as well. First of all, I just want to say you're part of an amazing community, right? You've joined those 760 people in the Innovator community, but the Google community as a whole, the GEGs, our trainer community, is really tight-knit. Everyone really comes together. We have Cello, who's come over from Spain. She's our only Spanish person in this cohort, and she wanted to want her friend Juanma, I hope I pronounced his name right, Juanma Diaz. And he's been going through a really tough time with his health at the moment, but he's part of our kind of big Google family. And so if you can, go send Juanma some love and tell him that we are thinking of him while we're here at this academy as well. Okay, as we move forward then, partnering with us and kind of working together, right? Innovators and Google. There are kind of 4 things that I want you to think about as we move forward. The first is, you are really an extension of our team. I mentioned this on Wednesday and said that we really rely on you to kind of go and help us spread the word about all the amazing things that you're doing and that are available to teachers and are out there for free. And so I hope that you'll support us in working with school districts in the US, directly with schools in the UK, trusts, local authorities, even whole countries that have decided to roll out G Suite, like in Scotland, where we have Ian and Colin have joined us from here this week. The second is, you can really help other educators, IT admins, tech integration leads by creating great content. It doesn't need to be stuff that you pour hours and hours into, but just sharing quick things. I'll give you an example. If you tweet, for example, that to undo something, you can press Control and Z. That might be a thing that people aren't aware of that is actually going to save them a lot of time. And it's just one simple thing to go and tweet about, for example. The next is, I hope that we can rely on you and use some of your time to provide feedback to our product teams. As you know, inside Google Classroom, you can already send feedback, and in our other products as well. The Classroom team read every single piece of that feedback, and the product has become what it is now because of the feedback that educators and our community members like you have left through that process. And I hope that we can continue those conversations as well. And finally, the 4th thing is, we do a lot of things very quickly at Google. Our products add features all of the time. We come up with amazing new ways to do things. We allow you now, for example, to ask a question about data in a spreadsheet, and then it just tells you the answer, so there's no need to know how to write a formula. But sometimes people miss those announcements. And so again, we want to rely on you and work with you to help us spread the word of those things when they come out, whether it's on Twitter, through word of mouth, in your context at your school or district. Either way, whatever happens, you're part of the family. And I'm really looking forward to getting to know all of you and see all 36 of these amazing projects that we just heard about come to life over the next 12 months. Innovators, they're here now. You are innovators now. You've graduated. Would you recommend this to other people? Oh, you'd recommend it, right? Oh, good. All right. There we go. So we have another academy in Europe coming up in Sweden in November. Applications are open until September the 6th. So if you happen to be watching our live stream and you're thinking, wow, that looks really fun, to go and hang out at Google and work really hard over 3 days on a really difficult challenge that we're facing in education, then go and apply. You don't have to be in Sweden. You don't even have to be in Europe to apply. And applications close in September, as I mentioned, so plenty of time over the summer to think about what that challenge is. And remember, you only need to lay out a challenge for your application, not a solution. I know that there was mention earlier of someone keeping a solution in their back pocket to whip out on the last day, which was clever, I thought, but not what we're looking for in the application. Finally, not only are you all certified innovators, but we have Dave today in another event that's happening up in the north of England, is now Network Manager of the Year in the Edu Futurists Awards. So congrats to Dave. We had some other nominees in the group as well, and I haven't kept up to date with any other awards. So does anyone else win an award in here? Okay, cool. Perfect. The Innovator Energizer are these events that we do to bring you back together, give you an opportunity to network, and you are now part of the Innovator family, so you get to come along to these Energizers. Wherever there's one happening that you happen to be, you're welcome to attend. I was just in ISTE a few weeks ago, and we had a huge Energizer there, 100 and something people, I believe, during ISTE, and we'll be doing the same thing here during BET in London. In January 2020. It feels like a long way away, but I promise when we're there, it will feel like tomorrow. And so come along. It will be on the Friday during BET. So hold that day in your calendar to come along to the office and have a day networking and doing some more work with other innovators. And if you're not already, please join our Google Educator groups. Spain, for example, has an amazing GEG group that meet up, and these are our grassroots communities sharing best practice, doing meetups, and helping each other. And we have one right here in the UK as well, and many across the US. So find your local Google Educator group online and make sure you go and join and become an active part of that community too. So all this really leaves me to do is to say thank you to everybody. So thank you to all of our Googlers. Sky, wherever she is right now at the back here, helped organize all the logistics for this event. And Liz, who you met on Wednesday, who took us to meet our new Google Creature. And you can check in with your Google Creature over the next 12 months as well. When you need a moment, plant your feet on the ground and go and have a chat. Joe, who taught us all about Jamboard, and John and Emily as well, who are our Geo nerds, who came along and talked to us all about Geo tools. So a big round of applause for them in their absence as well. A huge thanks to EdTech team. We're actually missing Les from this slide, but a huge thanks to our partners, EdTech team. So Mark, Wendy, Andy, and Les, who have led us through the design sprint and put together this whole program that evolves through the day as we go along. And finally, our coaches, who hopefully have helped you along your way, maybe even ripped up your idea with you at some points and helped you ding the fail bell through the week. But whatever they've done, hopefully you've reached the end of this third day and love them more than you ever did before through your chats, through your hangouts, and through when you arrived on Wednesday. So massive thanks to all of our coaches for coming along as well and helping their teams. And this is you. Look at you. So a massive thank you to all of you. Now, before I say a proper goodbye, but apparently Ollie is saying goodbye to Paul in this photo, is what it looks like. We heard a Titanic anecdote earlier as well from our Googler panel. Anyway, there are three key tenets of this program that we really want you to take away. The first is to transform, ultimately transform education. That means maybe transforming the lives of students, providing equitable access to education. Whatever it is, ultimately that is our biggest goal, right? Transforming education for the better. Advocating, helping other people realize what's possible with technology or with well-being, or by broadening their horizons and understanding all the different communities and how diversity is such a positive thing. And finally, growing yourselves, whether that's learning how to make pizza, right? Continuing through other professional development programs and constantly doing more, right? And bettering yourself, whether it's reading the book that Les told us about earlier about presenting, for example. And so I showed you this picture at the beginning. I told you to hang on tight. You're all here. You made it. So you've all got a glass in front of you. Raise your glass and cheers to London 2019, Google Certified Innovators. Well done. Okay, so we have some canapes. Yeah. Thank you. All right, so we have plenty of food over here for you. Go and enjoy some canapes. We've said until 6. We're actually going to extend this because we're running a little bit late. We'll go until 6:30. We're going to kick you out. So go and help yourself to food and drinks over here. And thank you all again for coming, all of our guests. Please go and chat to everyone, find out more about the projects that you just heard about. And thank you for coming. Cheers.
Express yourself. Express yourself. You don't never need help from nobody else. All you got to do now, express yourself. Whatever you do, do it good. Whatever you do, Lord, Lord. Do it good. All right. It's not what you look like when you're doing what you're doing. It's what you're doing when you're doing what you look like you're doing. Express yourself. Express yourself. You're doing it on the moon, y'all. In the jungle too. Everybody on the floor now. Jumping like a kangaroo. So let the horn do the thing they do, y'all.